What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So the PlayStation 5 has been getting smaller updates here and there, mostly for system stability, but now it appears that a major update is heading to the platform in the next couple of months, and some of the features have leaked out a bit early, and we'll go over those here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet once again, as a lot was made around the performance and the bugs and the glitches, but it appears that Gamefreak could have their own big update in the next month or two to address this, and we'll also be talking about that Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal once again, as it appears a couple of big players have thrown their hat in the ring to, well, oppose the deal. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below as we head towards 700,000 subscribers. Big shout out to everyone who is subscribing to the channel. We're gonna start today with Ubisoft, who we talked about a lot yesterday, as it doesn't appear that Ubisoft's in a very good position right now with a fairly dire overall financial report, but Yves Guillemot's the CEO at the company, decided to send out an email, which I can only assume was sent out as a motivational piece, but it came off a bit different, which we can see this posted up over on VGC, saying Yves Guillemot has reportedly told staff the onus is on them to reverse the company's fortunes after provided a dire financial update on Wednesday. Quote, "Today more than ever, I need your full energy and commitment to ensure we get back on the path to success. I am also asking that each of you be especially careful and strategic with your spending and initiatives to ensure we're being as efficient and lean as possible. The biggest pipeline in Ubisoft history, the ball is in your court to deliver this lineup on time and at the expected level of quality and show everyone what we are capable of achieving." And again, I only assume he sent this out as a big rah-rah motivational piece to staff, but the thing with Ubisoft is the developers are fine. They're very good at what they do there. Clearly, the games come out, they function well, and the problem is the direction of Ubisoft and their focus right now being, we gotta get that Fortnite, we gotta get that a Warzone and Apex Legends, something like that in the free-to-play market for us to really have success, when I think they just need to go back to the drawing board and look at what made them successful in the first place. Not chasing these free-to-play games constantly as their main focus and trying to take all of their high-value brands and intellectual properties and morph them into this live service setting. It's an odd thing for Ubisoft to do, as we're seeing the pipeline take a while and cost them a lot of money. You figure maybe they look in the mirror and change course, because clearly right now this is more of a management issue, not really a developer issue. Also, we did have Microsoft announce yesterday that the Xbox will be getting its own update, this one to make it more energy efficient. We can see this posted up over on news.xbox.com, saying Xbox is now the first gaming console to offer carbon-aware game downloads and updates. So what you really need to know here is currently Insider Xbox subscribers are going to be getting an update that allows them to have the system completely off, but it will basically wake up during nightly maintenance window times and be able to update in accordance with really the best time when it comes to just overall energy usage and different things based on your area and other factors. So if you have it, say, in sleep mode right now, the default option will become shutdown, which is energy saving. So if you don't want it to be in shutdown, you will have to go back and change it or just update it to sleep mode. But really, I thought about it. I have mine in shutdown and it still boots up really fast. So I don't really know the difference anymore between sleep and shutdown, other than, I guess, remote startup. That's the biggest thing there. Even rest mode with the PlayStation, these systems use SSDs and they just boot up really, really fast now as it is. So, hey, I assume Microsoft realized that the general consumer won't really notice much of a difference anyway, so we should just make it so shutdown is just the default as it is. Oh, and a quick nostalgia trip, as well as a reminder as to how far we've come since the Switch came out, as it's now been 6 years since the Switch had that big presentation by Nintendo and they revealed all the details, where we at first had that trailer with the rooftop parties showing what the Switch was, and then we got all the details, pricing, games, the big Breath of the Wild trailer at the end. 6 years though. I guess it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but then you really think about it, it's like, wow, a lot has happened. And you go back to that point in time, January 12th, 2017, we're seeing it with pricing and all these different details around it for the first time. Did any of us think that we'd be here 6 years later talking about how this system is running up against the PS2 and the DS potentially as the best-selling system of all time? I don't think any of us saw that one coming, but here we are. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the PlayStation 5 and a pretty substantial update that is currently being reported to release in the next couple of months. But first, we did have an actual update go out yesterday, which we can see this posted up here over on PlayStation Lifestyle. It's the PS5 system update 22.02-06.50.00 rolls right off the tongue. But the two things that were pointed out, of course, system software update improves system performance, and then also DualSense Edge wireless controller is now supported. They technically have to add that in before the controller comes out, which it is out in 2 weeks, so it'd be interesting to check that one out there, which I do have that controller coming in, and I expect to do a full tech wave on that, so that'll be fun. Make sure your PS5 is updated, though, especially if you are thinking about getting the DualSense Edge, but also it's good to be running on the latest firmware for all those really cool system stability updates. No, the big update that people were talking about yesterday is a report that was put out by InsiderGaming.com, this with Tom Henderson. It says PlayStation 5 version 7.00 to include Discord and cloud streaming for PS5 games. Okay, they also just dropped the official date for it, that it's scheduled March 8th, 2023. So we could see this information get out there in the next week or two in general, where Sony kind of announces it and talks about how they're going to be putting this into some trial runs with like the beta program, and then it'll be coming out later. But March 8th, 2023 is what we're looking at right now. And all right, so let's start with Discord. Discord obviously was going to come to PlayStation 5 eventually, as Sony does have a partnership with Discord. So you expected that, and I think it's good that we are about to have PlayStation with it, and we already have Xbox with Discord. It just works to bring the cross-play future together more and more. I still think that's key for Nintendo, and I'm hoping that's just a feature they have out of the box, maybe even for next generation. I think that'd be massive, even game-changing for Nintendo to have that native chat option for Discord just installed out of the box. But I guess we'll see if Nintendo does that and even tries to label it as a next generation feature. Now, the other part of this has to do with game streaming. Specifically, though, for the PlayStation 5, Insider Gaming say sources have revealed that PlayStation 5 games will also be streamable on the PlayStation 5 via cloud streaming. I guess to save like space on your SSD, because you'd be playing PS5 games on your PS5 through the cloud. But they do say it was said that this feature will be included in the PlayStation Plus Premium tier. The feature under a project name Kronos has been in development and testing for a number of months. All right, so the biggest thing here, and I think there's gonna be more information about this coming as we get closer to its eventual reveal, and then apparently the release March 8th, PS5 streaming is going from the PS4 streaming, because that's kind of how it is now. Like, if you want to stream games from your PC, which you can do, and not a lot of people know this, you don't need a PlayStation right now to play PlayStation games. You can play it through PlayStation Plus Premium. You download the app on your PC, and you connect a DualShock 4 controller, and you play PlayStation games there, like Ghost of Tsushima, as an example, can be played completely from the cloud. Not the best experience overall when you have the option of getting a PlayStation or just a native experience. It's kind of been like that with all these cloud experiences. I'd rather play my Xbox Series games on the console rather than stream it to a phone or a computer. More the convenience of the whole thing, but also the idea of you don't necessarily need the box to play it. However, to play PlayStation 5 games up until this point, you did need the box. And I assume that's what this will remedy as they work to change out their network and storage solutions, all these things to more mirror a PlayStation 5 and give that option. And hey, we'll probably also be able to use our DualSense controller then, I assume, through the PlayStation Plus application. I guess for the PS5, it's a way for you to just try out a game before you spend the time downloading it and also filling up that NVMe drive that's already at a premium when it comes to storage space on there with 825 gigabytes advertised, but we already know nowhere near that much that's there. But hey, it's just an extra feature that would be coming along with PlayStation Plus Premium, sort of like how I view Game Pass Ultimate right now with its game streaming. It's just kind of there for convenience and even in a pinch at times. But the idea of maybe those PlayStation 5 games being able to take advantage of the hardware at these different server sites and providing a better overall experience, especially with things like higher frame rates and more responsive controls, and then also pairing that with the experience on PC. Certainly an interesting future for Sony going through this generation. Next up, let's talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and how it looks like Gamefreak will have a substantial update, we'll say, next month in February. So much so that they decided to announce it now. But first, let's take a look at this video. It's kind of cool to see this get posted up, as there are now over 1,000 Pokemon, apparently across 26 years. I say apparently because, to be honest, eventually I just had a hard time keeping up and keeping track of all the different Pokemon. I still look back on the original 151 as like the best generation of Pokemon. A lot of that is because I'm old. I'm sure there are probably better generations when it comes to the technical side of things and all of this, but just something about the originals to go along with the Poke Rep, it's untouchable there, right? But you can see the video, over 1,000. In fact, they say 1,008, and it was cool because they went through all the different games, the graphical styles, and it was just a fun video that takes you down that nostalgic path, and it was fun. I would check the video out. It's like 8 minutes long, but it goes through different Pokemon pretty quickly. However, we can see Cerebi here saying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet version 1.2 is set to launch in late February and feature bug fixes and added functionality. So I'll leave the added functionality up to the Pokemon experts out there, the Pokemon masters, who can probably pick and choose from different things that they would like to see in here. I saw someone mention Pokemon Home, although would an update be needed? Because this is like transferring stuff, right? I don't know if that is as necessary to add in extra features into the game itself. I'm more focused on the bug fixes and performance issues that could be ironed out here, because there are many of them in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And in fact, I've completed the game. There's an end game and all of this to it now, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know what? I've had my fill of Scarlet and Violet. Maybe here is where I stop and then come back to it when any of these patches go out, so I can try to experience the game again through the end game, which you kind of know what I'm talking about when I say again, but I can experience it then with maybe better performance overall, or I just wait until, I don't know, 2024 when the next Switch is out or next system from Nintendo is out with, I'm sure, full backwards compatibility. They'll have 4K patches all over the place, higher frame rates. Yeah, I'm sure Nintendo and Gamefreak will be able to do that. But at the very least, Nintendo has acknowledged that there are issues with the game when it comes to performance. They put out a whole message alongside of the first real update for the game. So I'm expecting something even here with the bug fixes. I don't even know if they'll mention performance outright. It just may sort of be part of the update that gets pushed and people notice that, oh wow, this area runs substantially better, or at least a little better. Either way, late February even, I'm thinking Pokemon Day, that's February 27th, makes a lot of sense, especially with some added functionality of some kind. Sounds like a good way for them to sell us a new accessory or something there. So I guess keep an eye out for a larger patch 1.2 for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and cross your fingers that has some sort of improvement when it comes to the way the game's run in general. Next up, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts. Now, these ones in particular are a little different than previous ones we've looked at, because over the holidays, they skipped a week, so they just added it all together in one report here. But we do have a pretty major milestone in general, which we can see posted up. This would be the top 10 Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Immediately, you see there, 291,322, over 4.6 million have sold, which, by the way, according to Game Data Library, total retail sales for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in Japan have surpassed those of Pokemon Sword and Shield. That's 8 weeks versus 3 years, including digital sales of, or at least we'll say 6 million, but I bet they're closer and maybe even over 7 million. Obviously, the big story, yeah, Scarlet and Violet already soaring past Sword and Shield in just 8 weeks, which is incredible because, well, Sword and Shield was the second best-selling Pokemon game of all time. This tells me that, yes, Scarlet and Violet will end up being the best-selling Pokemon game ever made, dethroning red, yellow, blue, green, however you refer to them. So yeah, look out for Scarlet and Violet. They're on a tear right now. Then we have Splatoon 3, 107,700 copies, coming up with 3.8 million. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because why not? Nintendo Switch Sports, Dragon Quest Treasures, Gran Turismo 7 sort of breaking up the streak of Switch games up and down the top 10. Minecraft, Momotaro Densetsu, Mario Party Superstars, and then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Moving over to the hardware, we have the Switch at the top, 250,718. Looks like we don't need that next-gen Switch until at least 2025 at this rate with these kind of numbers, right? But we do see the Switch coming up on 28 million units sold. In fact, by next week, it'll be there, which is ridiculous. I think it's going to pass the DS probably at the end of next year. Again, depending on how Nintendo handles the transition to next generation, but it looks like the Switch overall in its life will pass the DS. So that's incredible stuff there. PlayStation 5, 85,156. I'll admit, I was expecting 100,000 from the PS5 for 2 weeks post-holiday and all of this, but either way, that is up from last year when they were experiencing some extreme shortages, nearly 2.5 million lifetime there for the PS5. Then the PS4, 4,128. The Xbox Series, 1,739. Not great for Xbox. I mean, they passed the 400,000 lifetime mark, which is good for Xbox. That is much, much less than I was expecting from the Xbox Series there, though. Then 419 for the 3DS. Otherwise, though, the hardware charts, I would say, come out to how most people were expecting. And when it comes to the game side, Scarlet and Violet are just unstoppable now, which is one of the reasons that I would expect Gamefreak to start pushing patches late February that do have some sort of effect of actual improvements around the way the games themselves run. It's just selling too well now for them to kind of leave it how it is, especially since there's so much potential for, yes, downloadable content that they can sell all over again to a very large install base for the game itself. So here's hoping Game Freak does get that all ironed out well enough, or at the very least, give us that 4K patch for the next-gen Switch in, well, based on these sales, 2026. And in our last bit of news, let's quickly talk about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal once again, as it's just this never-ending saga. It's just gonna keep going on and on and on forever. But now we have some new opposition to the deal. We know the biggest opponent has been Sony. It's been so obvious, been all over the headlines, the news, the different writings from either side with the lawyers is some of the craziest stuff we've ever read in video games. But now Google and Nvidia are showing some concerns, even opposition to this deal going through, which we can see this reported by Bloomberg, where they say Google and Nvidia provided information that backs a key FTC contention that Microsoft could gain an unfair advantage in the market for cloud subscription and mobile gaming, according to people who asked not to be identified because the process is confidential. Nvidia stressed the need for the equal and open access to game titles, but didn't directly oppose the acquisition, according to one of the people. So Google's kind of funny. I mean, Nvidia has their own game streaming stuff where they'll pull it from your Steam library, and obviously they're going to be concerned because of their business that Microsoft would come in and shut down the idea of them being able to stream something like a Call of Duty or anything else out of the Activision Blizzard lineup. Google, though, is more on the mobile side, and it's funny because Google and Apple basically control mobile gaming. They have two storefronts, and that's kind of it. They don't allow other storefronts. Remember the whole thing that was going on with Microsoft and Apple, and why xCloud at the time wasn't existing on Apple's storefront is because they didn't want people to get around the store to do microtransactions in these games. It was a whole thing, but basically it comes down to there being a duopoly now, right? So we have a storefront on iOS and we have a storefront on the Play Store, and Google doesn't like, I guess, that these different properties, very large ones, by the way, Call of Duty Mobile, massive, massive property, could potentially be held hostage by Microsoft in order to allow them to do different things on the store, or even provide their own storefront altogether, which the stores for Apple and Google have come up quite a bit in talks from the FTC, where they've kind of beaten them over the head about it for a while and even talked about looking into it. So it's funny, mostly with Google showing up and opposing all of this, and FTC's like, yeah, they're on our side. We got Google with us because they want to keep their storefront all to themselves and eliminate any kind of competition. Wait a minute. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you tried streaming PlayStation games to your PC? This is the cloud streaming service, by the way, not like remote play, anything like that. And it looks like only 10% have actually tried it. 59% said no, and then 31% said, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, you don't actually need a PlayStation system to do if you're signed up to PlayStation Plus Premium and you have a DualShock 4, I think other PlayStation 4 controllers will also work, like third-party ones. You can just cloud stream it and play through the games, trophies, the whole thing on your account. And if they do upgrade to the PS5, I assume it'll be the same way there. So maybe they're going to work to improve that overall experience, because all these cloud streaming ones, they all need improvement. So maybe we work towards a future where it becomes very, very close to the native experience, and that's a legitimate option people have in the future. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Maniac saying, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, like other Ubisoft games, went on sale a few months after release multiple times. For that reason, I'm sure many people like myself assumed Sparks of Hope would follow the same pattern and hold it off on buying it day one at the $60 price. To me, all that says is they didn't provide a compelling enough product to get you to want to pay full price for it. That's really it. And I mean, you can apply that to a lot of different games, because you could have also rented it. So it could have been like, oh, well, I'll rent this title instead. But I also do understand that Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle was down to like 10 or 15 bucks at one point. And if you bought it at that price, you're like, wow, that was a really good $10, $15 game. Maybe I will check out Sparks of Hope when it's also $10 or $15. Hey, that is a mindset that I'm sure people are looking at Sparks of Hope with. But to think that the majority of people, or enough people, would think that way to hurt sales for Ubisoft, to lower their or come in under their expectations that much, that's actually a serious problem with Ubisoft that they're gonna have to figure out. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whereas Discord and game streaming coming to the PlayStation 5. Are you excited that in March you may have a little Discord icon down there in your PS5 game bar? And then also, what about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with that update 1.2 happening in February? Do you think they're going to have any substantial improvement when it comes to the performance side? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.